Most of us have heard this before. I'm a visual learner. I learn best by listening. I need to move to understand. The idea feels personal. It feels scientific. And it feels empowering, like discovering a secret key to knowing how your brains work. But what if this idea is wrong? What if one of the most popular beliefs in modern education doesn't actually help students learn and may even be holding them back? This is the myth of learning styles. The theory of learning style claims that each person has a preferred way of learning and that teaching should match their preference. Some people are said to be visual learners, other auditory learners, or kinesthetic learners who learn best through movement and hands-on experience. If teaching match a student's learning style, the theory says learning improves. If it doesn't, learning suffer. It's a simple idea, and that simplicity is part of why it spreads so widely. Learning styles feels true because they match our personal experience. We all have preference. Some ways of learning feels easier than other. And when something feels easier, it feels like we're learning better. The idea also carries authority of science. It emerges in the 1970s when psychologists and educators were trying to understand how people learn. Early research shows that people do have strong preferences for how information is presented, and that seems convincing. So scientists designed experiment to test theory. Students were classified as visual learners or auditory learners. Everyone was taught the same material, but in different ways. Some student received visuals instructions, other receives auditory instructions. If learning styles were real, visual learners should perform better when taught visually, and auditory learners should perform better when taught through sounds. But this isn't what researchers found. In early as 2004, cognitive scientists reviewed decades of research and searched clear conclusion. There was little to no evidence that matching teaching to learning styles improved learning. More recently, psychologists led by Daniel Willingham at the University of Virginia re-examined the evidence. Once again, the result was the same. Most studies found no support for learning styles. Some even directly contradict the theory. People may have preferred about how they learn, but preference do not determine how well they learn. So why does this theory work? One explanation is that many students don't have a learning style strong enough to affect learning. Another is that preference exists but simply don't matter. But the most likely explanation is this: different kind of material require different ways of learning. Learning to drive a car isn't visual, auditory, or hands-on. It's all of them at once. You watch the instructor, you listen to instruction, and you practice while driving. The method shouldn't match the material, not the student. In fact, researchers have warned that learning styles may be actively harmful. In a major 2009 review, psychologists argued that the learning style approach can limit students by encouraging them to rely on one method and avoid others. A student labeled a visual learners might avoid reading or listening. They might stop practicing skills that feels uncomfortable. And that's a problem because real learning often feels uncomfortable. Learning styles can also promote a fixed mindset, the belief that intelligence is static and unchangeable. Research consistently shows that students who believe intelligence can grow through efforts perform better than those who believe they are simply born smart or not. When students are told they have a specific learning styles, they may assume their abilities are fixed and stop pushing themselves. Despite the evidence, belief in learning styles remain widespread. Studies shows that more than 90% of teachers believe students learn better when taught in their preferred learning style. Most students believe it too. Many are convinced they have a single defining ways of learning. A myth doesn't survive because it's true, it survives because it feels true. But the science of learning tells a different story. The most effective learners use a mix of methods. They read, listen, practice test themselves and explain ideas to others. They engage with material in multiple ways. The brain learns best when it's challenged, not when it's protected inside a label. The evidence is clear. Matching teaching to learning style doesn't improve learning, and it may be holding students back. The real key to learning isn't discovering your style, it's embracing effort, flexibility, and growth. You are not a visual learner, or an auditory learner, or a kinesthetic learner. You're a learner, and learning is bigger than any label.